What up, guys? This is Casey Israel, and this is part 5 of my rare games in the collection. I know I have talked about a couple times about my Sega Pico games, but I never really ever came across these in the wild. Never. Not even freaking once. Um, the only reason I got these right here and the Sega Pico console itself through eBay, because out 20 years of collecting, I never seen these in the wild at all. I mean, especially the cartridge and having them in their boxes. I mean, to me, it's pretty awesome to have stuff like this. I like weird, oddball stuff. And also, I talked about before the Atari Box Games. Only came across the Atari Box twice, and both times I bought them. I gave the first Atari Box away to Billy, to the Game Chasers, but I guess Billy from the Game Chasers decided to take it. I mean, that's fine. I gave it to the Game Chasers, and well, the reason I did that, I also came across the second one with a box. So, yeah, these are pretty uncommon to come by. I mean, these are VHS tapes as video games. And the same thing with these hyperscan games with these card packs you have to use. To me, that's also rare too. I mean, I only came across those hyperscans once in 20 years as well. I bought it at vintage stock when I was in Oklahoma. No, I was on vacation in Oklahoma at the time. And I think it was like $20, 15, $20. And the was funny. The person was like, "You really want to buy this? You must have hate god awful systems." Like, I know it's horrible. I like stuff like that, but I can also talk about over here. I mean, I guess I did mention these games before, the RCA Studio games too. Well, one day, somewhere in the wild, I think it was in Pennsylvania, I picked one up. I was like, "Oh, awesome, it's an RCA Studio 2 game." I'm like, interesting. The only other time I ever seen RCA Studio anything was at the Classic Game Junkie. And you can literally probably find anything you're trying to look for there. Dude, I even saw, God, what's that Xbox game with the giant controllers? You play as a mech. I'm trying to think, I'm blank, but it had also the box with it and a loose version of it. So to me, I'm like, but they also had an RCA Studio 2 and some games. And I think they wanted a big price on it. I don't remember what they priced it, but and I honestly don't remember what I paid for this one. Probably 100 and something. And then I bought a couple Etcher games later on. And I moving over to Atari games. These are kind of uncommon for me to find. I mean, every once in a while I'll find these, but these to me have been kind of uncommon. And when I go around flea marketing or vintage stocks or wherever, and I see a game like this, always piques my interest. Especially, I'm like, oh. And if it's a decent price, I'll pick it up. I mean, never see games like that. Yeah, when I see games like that, it gives me a little boner. I mean, look at this one. I mean, weird looking cartridge as well. Same thing with this one. This is a really weird one. Someone wrote their name on it. It looks like Puyon. Puyon. I know. Trying to focus. Tax avoiders is pretty expensive. Double Dragon for the 7800. I talked about a bunch of these before, especially the Atari games when I was talking about Atari video I did, but this one, the Double Dragon games on Atari systems really hard to come by. Like I told my story before, I found a Double Dragon for the Atari 2600, and I was flea marketing with my late wife, and there was a U-Haul. We went in, I saw Double Dragon, and it was a Atari game, 2600. I was like, no way, that's the actual Double Dragon. A lot of times the Atari will have all types of names, so I mean, shoot, there's a Star Fox game on Atari, and it has nothing related to Star Fox. So, but no, but they wanted $18 for a Double Dragon. I was like, no, I'm not paying nearly $20 for our Atari game, and for 5 years ish, a little bit, maybe a little longer, that I kicked myself in the ass because I only came across it one more time, and that time I paid more to get it, so I knew the second time around I was not going to let it slip through my grasp. But I bought the 7800 version before that one, and this one got me to get into 7800 games, and I've been wanting to get into Atari 7800s. Talking about the Atari games, I used to have Atari 5200 and a bunch of games. Actually, I bought that in Oklahoma before I moved to Pennsylvania. But when I was moving up to Pennsylvania, something happened. The controllers weren't working, and I hear the controllers are notorious for breaking. So, I mean, and then their controllers were super expensive on eBay. I'm like, fuck. Like, I'll just sell it and sell the games, and it took a little bit to do that. But, I'll pull the. If you guys want to see my uncommon to rare games, go to the Atari albums with games inside, where I don't have to pull that out again. But honestly, too, their games, these are kind of uncommon. I mean, every once in a while I see them. But what's funny, with the system itself, I always see the system in its box. Like I said before for the video, I think the reason why it always has the box is because how awesome the box art looked. And when I bought my first one, I had a bunch of loose carts like this. And then there was a flea market. There was a kid, I think it was in Slayton, a vendor, had a bunch of these box games, and I think he had it priced around $100, maybe 90. I think more like 90. And he had box games and another box Odyssey 2. I mean, honestly, I think that's a good deal. a system in this box and a bunch of games in their boxes. But then I was like trying to say, hey, how much you want just for the games? Because I already got the system. I just want the games in their boxes because I love my boxes. And at first he didn't want to separate. I was like, hey, understandable. I know it's going to be hard to separate these from the... It's hard to sell the system if you have no games, so... But eventually he's like, hey, like a week or two later, I'm willing to do that deal. I'm like, okay. And then we're making the deal, and he just, I don't know, I guess he just didn't want to hold on it. He's like, take the system. I'm like, okay, awesome. And then I just checked both systems. They both worked. And I just combined the best one and sell the other one to recoup some costs. But lately, as more these games, a lot of these games right here for television are pretty common. But the one out of that I would say is uncommon is that Pac-Man game. And I thought Pac-Man was only Atari license, but apparently, well, it is. But they sell they'll license the games to another system. But recently, I found out about this cart. It's like there's two versions of Pac-Man, and this one is a God dang phone. But they had two versions of Pac-Man. But that's uncommon. I wouldn't say Pitfall is uncommon, but I don't come across this one that often at all. Same thing as Stampede. I really don't see that often. I think I came across that one. Then I saw red cartridge at my local game store. I was like, for a television? It was like, I never see these. I was like, I had to get them. I'm just checking those, and then the same thing like this. I hadn't seen this one that often, so I had to get that.